A 7-month marriage to a woman close to his daughter's age? Billy Ray Cyrus isn't the only rocker to go for a much younger woman. In 1991, not too long before country musician Billy Ray Cyrus shot to fame, his heart was stolen by Tish Finley, whom he met in a club. The pair married in late 1993 and went on to have 3 children together, all of whom achieved varying degrees of fame. Their union lasted for nearly 3 decades. However, in the early 20s, Cyrus began eyeing a much younger woman. During the COVID-19 pandemic, Cyrus tracked down Fire Rose Hodges.
We actually met 10 years ago on the set of Hannah Montana.
Big blonde sack of drama, say what?
Despite an age gap of 26 years, the pair began an affair which led to Tish filing for divorce in 2022. Cyrus and Hodges were married in 2023, and this time Cyrus opted for an economy-sized marriage, filing for divorce after only 7 months. In an interview with Stellar magazine, Hodges said she wished she could tell her younger self to avoid the much older man who befriended her on set of his daughter's kids show, saying, "I probably should have had way better boundaries." It may seem like Gordon Sting Sumner, former bassist and frontman for the Police, has been married to his wife Trudy Styler since he was just a cadet. He was, however, married once before. Irish actress Frances Tomelty was Mrs. Sting from 1976 to 1984 as the Police rose to fame. Sting was acquainted with Styler, who was 6 years younger than his wife, for nearly this whole period, as Styler was Tomelty's best friend. Sting and Styler began fooling around while the musician was still married to Tomelty, and Styler became pregnant in 1983. Tomelty subsequently filed for divorce. In Sting's autobiography, Broken Music, he confessed that he had been in love with Styler ever since meeting her. In a 2002 interview with The Guardian, Styler didn't want to talk about how they met, saying, "I don't talk about it because it's tied up with, his ex-wife, and I don't talk about her. Neither of us are proud of a situation that happened, it just happened. We loved each other and we lived together, and then we got married and we had more kids. And that's our life story."
We just celebrated our silver wedding.
Pop superstars Jennifer Lopez and Marc Anthony became acquainted when their respective careers were really starting to heat up. During that time, they both played the field. Anthony with a short-lived marriage to Miss Universe Dayanara Torres, and Lopez with a high-profile but ultimately doomed engagement to actor Ben Affleck. By 2004, both of those relationships had fizzled, and Lopez and Anthony hooked back up. They were married that summer. Unfortunately, Anthony failed to shake his thing for young models. He and Lopez announced their separation in 2011, and after several years of continuing to work together, they finally called it quits officially in 2014. Later that same year, though, Anthony was remarried, this time to model Shannon DeLima, who is 20 years his junior. That marriage only lasted 3 years, but in a 2018 sit-down with Univision, DeLima steadfastly refused to pin the blame on Anthony, saying, "We're really great friends, I care for him a lot. Things don't work out sometimes, but it's not as dramatic as people see it." In 2012, Flaming Lips frontman Wayne Coyne shocked his band's legion of fans by announcing a separation from his common-law wife of nearly a quarter-century, J. Michelle Martin Coyne. The pair's fairy tale romance devolved into a not-so-fairy tale divorce, complete with accusations of cheating leveled at Coyne. Although it was eventually found that any claim of infidelity was legally moot, it doesn't mean they weren't true. They were most certainly true. Coyne had, in fact, taken up with a fan named Katie Weaver, who was a full 27 years younger. Fans and bloggers speculated that Coyne, who was 53 when his divorce was finalized in 2014, was simply having a midlife crisis. But regardless, Coyne and Weaver married in 2019 and had 2 children together. Conservative country star Jason Aldean is no stranger to controversy, and in 2013 he caught serious side-eye after snuggling up with failed American Idol contestant Brittany Kerr. Despite having been married to his wife Jessica Ursary for more than a decade, to his credit, Aldean publicly apologized for embarrassing himself and his wife. However, just months later, he filed for divorce and carried on with Kerr, who is 13 years his junior.
You look good, and he knows it.
Oh, I know it.
The pair married in 2015, and since then, Mrs. Aldean has exhibited a controversial streak to match her husband's. Kerr made a series of ill-advised Instagram posts, and in one, she thanked her parents for not changing her gender when she was a little girl. Jason Aldean was dropped by his PR firm of 17 years in 2022. Ric Ocasek was an awesomely weird man who kept coming at the music business from every angle until he found a way in. He and bassist singer Benjamin Orr were behind several failed projects in the 70s, before hooking up with guitarist Elliot Easton, keyboardist Greg Hawkes, and drummer David Robinson to form the Cars. Their new band's sublime synthesis of rock, pop, and new wave proved to be the perfect sonic accompaniment to Ocasek's geeky persona and impenetrable lyrics. In 1984, near the end of the band's run, Ocasek met 19-year-old Czech model Paulina Porskova on the set of the video for the smash hit Drive. Portskova would later tell Rolling Stone that she and Ocasek fell near immediately in love, but there was one problem: Ocasek's wife of over a decade, Suzanne. Ocasek and Portskova carried on a years-long affair before the singer finally divorced his wife in 1988. He and Portskova were married the following year, and while their 16-year age difference raised some eyebrows, the gap was actually bigger than what had been publicly stated. Upon Ocasek's death in 2019, it was revealed that in a 1979 interview, he had shaved 5 years off his age. In the intervening years, media outlets had cited this interview when stating the singer's age, and of course he never corrected them. Ocasek was actually 21 years Portskova's senior. As the frontman of the Rolling Stones, one of the biggest bands of the 60s and 70s, Mick Jagger had no shortage of potential flings. But in 1970, a friend introduced him to Bianca Perez Mora-Machias after a Stones concert in Paris, and in short order she became Mrs. Jagger, with Mick's child on the way. For most of that decade, they were a true rock and roll power couple, and despite her husband's occasional flings while on the road, Bianca stayed by his side. Until, that is, young model Jerry Hall entered the picture. Jagger met Hall, 13 years his junior, one night in 1976 at Studio 54. The pair quickly began an affair that led to Bianca Jagger filing for divorce 2 years later, and Hall soon took her place as Mrs. Jagger until 1999, when Jagger's affair and love child with yet another young model, Luciana Jimenez, torpedoed their union. Ever the Rolling Stone, he would continue hooking up and fathering children with progressively younger women. In total, the rocker has 8 kids. Mick Jagger wasn't the only Stones member to leave a long marriage in favor of a younger partner. In the case of guitarist Ronnie Wood, though, the marriage was just a touch longer. He was married to Jo Wood for 24 years beginning in 1985. The other woman, likewise, was ever so slightly younger than one might expect. Wood blew up his marriage by carrying on an affair with Ekaterina Ivanova, a Russian cocktail waitress who was over 4 decades his junior. Ivanova moved in with Wood after he left his wife in late 2009, but sadly, the relationship didn't last. By 2012, the pair had split, and Ivanova did not have fond memories of the union when she spoke with Hello magazine that year. She compared her time with the Rolling Stone to a dark fairy tale, and Wood himself to an evil goblin king, before professing her utmost respect and admiration for Joe. She told the publication, "I have a lot of respect for Joe now because he's a handful. I don't know how she did it. I couldn't. She seems to be better off without him, way happier." Sammy Hagar has sold a metric ton of albums as a solo artist. He was also the frontman for hard rock band Montrose and is an ex-member of Van Halen. He married his wife Betsy Berardi in 1968, years before he began his rocking onslaught on the music industry. The couple was married for over 25 years and had 2 children together. They divorced in 1994, and it was no small thing that came between them. It was, in fact, a woman named Carrie Cart. Hagar took up with Carrie after meeting her at a friend's birthday party, and by 1995, the pair were married despite a 20-year age gap between them. They went on to have 2 children of their own, and as of mid-2025, they've been married for 30 years. When Hagar received his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in 2024, he talked about his wife.
Yeah, she's been holding on for dear life. It's like riding on a rocket ship being around me. I can't help myself.
Formed in 1981, groundbreaking indie rock band Sonic Youth had a long and influential run, and its key members, guitarist and vocalist Thurston Moore and Kim Gordon, were a couple even before becoming bandmates. Together, the pair forged 2 things: a sound and aesthetic that would have a towering influence on the likes of Beck, Nirvana, and Dinosaur Jr., and a 27-year marriage. Unfortunately, the marriage came to an end thanks to Moore's dalliance with book editor Eva Prinz, who is 20 years his junior. The affair ended both the marriage and the band. Never one to mince words, Gordon told Billboard in a 2015 interview that she had been acquainted with Prinz since before the affair began, and had disliked her even then. For Moore's part, he largely stayed away from the topic in his memoir Sonic Life, although he didn't have an issue with Gordon's spilling of the tea. Moore told the New York Times in 2023, "I didn't take any umbrage with it. If I got too much into that would be a critical focus, as it is with any memoir. I purposely decided I have no real reason to share those feelings." Julian Casablancas, lead singer of The Strokes, enjoyed a rocket ship ride to stardom after his band's debut LP This Is It in 2001. It was at the height of that fame in 2004 that he got hitched to Juliet Joslin, his band's former manager. Their marital bliss lasted for about 15 years, but in 2019, Casablancas did the single most rock star-like thing he's ever done. He divorced his wife for Kaya Nichols, one of his band's young roadies. Casablancas didn't even confirm his divorce publicly until the press started wondering why he was always in the company of this very young woman. He confirmed the split and his new relationship in 2020. Although as of April 2025, it's not even clear whether Casablancas and Nichols are still dating. Grammy-winning rapper and singer Anderson .Paak was known as a family man. He and his ex-wife Jay Lynn have 2 children together and were married for 13 years, but their union ended when Paak filed for divorce in January 2024. He was briefly rumored to be involved with none other than Mariah Carey, 17 years his senior, after the pair were spotted together in the vacation spot of Aspen, Colorado the month previous. It soon became apparent, though, that Paak was going in the opposite direction, to a much warmer vacation spot with a much younger woman. Just days after his divorce filing, Paak was snapped by paparazzi in Mexico in the company of Dutch singer Stara, who is 14 years younger than Paak.